is time to say goodbye, Dolly Gray. It's no use to ask me why, Dolly Gray. There's a murmur in the air, you can hear it everywhere. It is time to do and dare, Dolly Gray.
Guys, are we nearly ready?
Yeah. Over the top, let's go.
It's just something very eerie about when you realise, oh my goodness, I'm playing someone who was in World War One. A majority of the characters, if not all, are real existing people who have gone through war and in the face of war have hopes and dreams.
I think the biggest thing I've taken from this production was being able to achieve something that was really localised. When you see words like, Vera Colmer settled in Bellevue Avenue, Ringwood, and Bill Scurry lived out his days in Croydon. When we personalise it to, this is the contribution that Maroondah made, I think it's those personal stories that help us remember the sacrifice.
I call upon you now in our hour of need. It is of the utmost importance that we devise some means of deceiving the enemy.
The first time we see Bill Scurry, he's in the trenches at Gallipoli. He overhears the NCOs talking about the evacuation and how they're going to do that.
From the period of time when the last man leaves the trench until he enters the boat. Now men, ideas.
And Bill comes up with an idea of a self-firing rifle, delayed action rifle, using some water timers, so old ration tins, dripping water from one tin to another, with the weight of the second one triggering the gun, letting off a shot.
What happens now? You just wait.
So it helps the Australians evacuate without the Turkish knowing. The thing I admire about Bill Scurry, he was so young when he went overseas to fight for a war that sort of changed the world, or was changing the world, defending, and he saved so many lives with his invention.
I don't think I can bear the thought of going home. I don't really remember what normal is anymore.
So the themes of Carrying Home are essentially based in the idea of what home is. Home being something that we think of as a place, but also the ways in which home comes with us when we leave those spaces. So, and in particular in this play, we explore how people carry home with them, even in the face of war, going incredibly long distances from the place that they belong and the people that they left behind.
My father used to say to me, home is wherever you make it. Do you think that's true?
I believe home is where you feel you belong. You just have to feel appreciated.
One of the things that I think is significant about this production is that the ages of the performers aren't that distant from the ages of the young people involved.
And being 20 upwards, mostly ourselves, it sort of gives us this perspective of, oh gosh, they were so young. It's definitely given me a much greater understanding of all of what they went through and just how hard it was.
Here we stand on the edge of peace. We hold our hope and grit our teeth.
The best and brightest we sent to be changed, not just even physically, We lost a naivety, I think, in Australia, and our youth lost that great sense of going off and doing something magnificent, turned into something that was really quite tragic and traumatic for them.
We believe that when tomorrow comes, life will win when war is won. Glory far and further gain is lost in blood and untold pain.
I think that we often concentrate on the men, and the terminology that's referred to around the Anzac is the men, the young men that gave their lives, the young men that did this. But huge sacrifices were made by women, the ones left behind, but the ones that went to war as well. Specifically thinking of the nurses who came back injured or killed or traumatised themselves.
The first time we meet Margaret, she's sitting, writing in her journal, just trying to get her feelings together. She's not handling the war. She has this conversation with Doris about how she saw her cousin get mauled by a bull.
There was a trail of blood right back out to the yard. His hands was red and his face was white.
She thought, I've seen my cousin get mauled by a bull. Surely I can handle this. No, she can't.
I didn't know a man could be that broken and still be alive.
I always thought that she was definitely representative of young 20-something women who went and did nursing and went and sort of were fed this romantic idea of, you know, as Mary I think says at one point, suturing bullet wounds for brave young soldiers who would sort of thank them with a smile. And so for them to sort of come to that harsh reality is awful.
A loving mother at my side, whose face aglow with love and pride. I bit my lip. I couldn't speak, and a tear dripped down upon my cheek. She patted my hand, said, "Never mind. We're proud of the women left behind."
My grandmother, Vera Colmer, was a writer, and one of the things that she wrote was that poem, The Women Left Behind, a story about the women who remained at home, her being one of those women. When you put something that's been created by a family member, it's a really nice thing to be a part of. There's a really personal connection there for me.
The train left slow. The driver was kind, and I joined the women left behind.
I think over the course of Carrying Home, the cast's understanding of the Anzac story and that personal connection with their own characters has been, I think it's been significant. Everyone's got their traumas that they carry with them. And I think one of the things that the cast really started to understand is that whilst our traumas today might look quite different to the traumas of 100 years ago, we as humans don't react any differently. And as a young group, I think they really grasped that the psychological struggle that it would have been to move forward in the face of such adversity and horror. And in that, they've been able to take something with them as they face their own adversities. A type of strength that they've taken from the characters that they portrayed.
There's a lot of similarities between her and me, but I think at some point she is a lot stronger than maybe I am. One thing I've learnt from her is that being brave doesn't always mean you're not scared, and that sometimes being brave means you do things despite having a great fear.
A low-ranked officer going to a higher-ranked officer and saying, "Consider my idea," would be pretty big.
Thank you, Bill.
It's his confidence that his self-firing rifle could influence the fate of all those soldiers is inspiring.
They all headed somewhere. They've all come from their own lives and they are destined to return to those lives. But not everyone makes it.
So that final scene that we have is showing the returning soldiers, or even the soldiers that did not return. When you're away for an extended period of time, when you do come back, life hasn't just stopped at home. The home that they carried with them is suddenly meeting the real home, the reality of what home has become. Someone who returns home and finds that their family is not there anymore. There's a wife who is helping her husband shed the war, taking off his uniform. As well as those happier moments where someone knocks on the door and they're welcomed and embraced by, all the people in the household throw their arms around him. As I started to make the connections with the significance of creating local art, I changed those words that was originally "lest we forget" to "lest you forget us." Making it personal makes it more real, I guess, and making it more real makes it more accessible on an emotional level, and helps towards not forgetting. The younger generations are the ones that are going to carry remembrance through long after we've lost all of our First World War, Second World War and Vietnam veterans. So being able to maintain those personal stories in the face of an enormous amount of time since that event occurred is really valuable for maintaining that remembrance.